Well, good morning. Let's try this again. It took me, I don't know, maybe two or there we go. I've caught up. Maybe it took me another 2 or 3 minutes to catch up to the fact that my video had stopped recording and I didn't know and I was chattering away. So that's awesome. I don't, anyway, I don't know what to do with this. Um, I don't even know where I left off. Um, Lily's group, it was really fun. It was a really cool thing to watch the mannerisms and the genetics and the kids naturally gravitate to each other. Um, I may not be able to finish this live today. Something I might have to restart my computer. Um, so I'm going to keep trying. We'll see how it goes. So that was my weekend. It was beautiful. It was awesome, and it was really neat to watch all these kids who share genetics and have the same mannerisms. Like at one point, I watched Lily and Penny, her sister, walk away, and they looked like sisters. Like from behind, I was like, wow, they really look like sisters. They looked alike. They all have the same mannerisms. They all have the same food sometimes sensitivities. There's like some interesting. They all have a little bit of ADD or ADHD or executive functioning stuff. Like there's some really cool things. It was neat to watch, and the moms were incredibly welcoming and warm, and it was wonderful. And that was just a delightful weekend. One of the original title of the post was collective grief and sacred rage and noble friends. And that was really kind of where I was going, and now I'm wondering if I was supposed to not go there. Um, but I had a couple of conversations last week with some friends of mine who were just like, and then this morning we had in Jamie's group, we had that conversation just like what the fuck, like how are it feels heavy, and I started to say it's lugubrious, and that the energy just kind of feels lugubrious. I can even, as I tap in this morning, there's a little bit of I feel like there's an anxiety, there's like a heaviness, there's like a there's something here, um and I think that's there's a collective energy. I don't think it's mine. And I think it feels dense. It feels heavy. I don't necessarily know what's here or what's coming, or is this what's already here. I haven't spent enough time with it to really analyze it, but I do feel like there's a lot of talk about what's going wrong. And my counterpoint to that is let's feel all of this. Let's bring it all in. Let's bring it into our heart and let's see if we can take it out of the world. Let's really feel it. We had a conversation this morning about really sitting in your feelings but not getting mired in them and not letting them, not living there, but really just allowing the expression of grief in. The collective grief, the collective sadness, the collective rage, the collective, I don't know, enough is enough feeling. The fear and the anger and the frustration and all of it that we're feeling. Let's bring it all in. And also, I watched a rabbi speak the other day and it was brilliant. I actually posted it on my Instagram story. She was talking about this concept called tikkun olam, which someone told me this morning translates literally to heal or save the world. And the concept of tikkun olam, as she understood it, and I really haven't dived anything into this, but it resonated so deeply with what she said. Is that when you wake up, when you find the thing that you say enough is enough, when you find the thing that like you're here to serve, that's your work, that's your purpose, that's your thing. And I do get that we're all being tapped, we're all being asked to wake up, we're all being squished and squeezed so that we get uncomfortable enough that we break and we break open, not break down, or break down but we break open. And that's kind of the collective energy that we're in right now. But that concept of tikkun olam is when you find the entry point, the thing that breaks you open, that's the thing that you are now meant to heal in the world, which is a very similar concept to Ho'oponopono. in that if it's in your energy field at all, it's yours to heal. So it's ours. It's ours. It's all of ours to heal, and our job is to heal it inside of us first. That's the only way it's never going to heal out there. It's going to heal in here. And in here is what's going to take us forward. So today I do feel this. I do feel this like sort of heaviness and grief and a little bit of sadness and anxiety. And I know at least some people are feeling it because I've had the conversations with people about it. Um, I know, and overall I'm happy. Overall, things are great. Like in my personal world, and like I said, I just had this amazing weekend, and I do also like to ask the question, what is going right? Because I don't necessarily want us to get stuck in what's wrong and talking about how things are so wrong, and that's just lowering our vibrations. That's not necessarily helpful, although it does feel like that sense of community that we have in the talking about things. I think we're so longing for any kind of community that talking about what's wrong, I think maybe gives us a sense of solidarity that we're not all alone. So I do understand that sort of desire. I also recognize that the more we talk about how terrible things are, that's what we're creating in terms of how terrible things are. So it's like, can we feel it? Can we experience it? Can we sit in the discomfort of what we're feeling and also be the change that we want to see in the world? Can we take our own personal tikkun olam and make this a healing point in the world? I had a friend of mine the other day. I know I talked the last week about shifting perspectives and hearing the other side. And I had a friend of mine, like a pretty good friend of mine. Um, we've been friends for a long time. He's come to me the other day and say, you posted something on Facebook a couple weeks ago that really offended me, and I just wanted to have a conversation with you about it. And I was like, okay. And we talked about it, and I said, this is something I feel really strongly about. It was I had posted a picture of my T-shirt, the fallopian tubes giving the finger, after Roe versus Wade was overturned, and she said, that really bothered me. I feel like the body is very sacred, and to have that sort of message out there was really really bothersome and offensive. And I listened, I heard her, and I said, I hear that, I get it. I said, but this was a hill I was really willing to die on. I said this was something I knew when I posted that would offend people and whatever. And I said, I didn't I wanted that was my line in the sand, is that you don't get to make decisions on my body, and nobody has that right. And so it got that conversation ended up getting pretty heated. We actually went down a rabbit hole that I was like, how did we get here? And what happened as the result of it is she said something that touched a live wire in me that I didn't even know existed. But the way she said it and how she said it, it ultimately got to, we were talking about being a lesbian as a choice. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I can now see what she meant by it. And at the time, I couldn't. I was like, it touched in me this. It set me off. I actually felt this like terror of, holy crap, if the people in my world that are close to me don't even see that this is not a choice, that this is really who I am, how can I possibly expect the greater world to see that? And it was a beautiful, amazing, incredible, triggering, painful moment of I got to really claim my space. And when I was talking about it in my group, in my support group, my tribe group afterwards, my coach said that was the sacred rage. That I had this moment, I felt this moment of like claiming my space in such a profound way that I was like, no one will ever judge my moral character. I really had this like incredibly profound rage, almost hysteria come up. And I was shaking, and it was like I really was forced to claim my space. And the only time I've ever felt that level of hysteria, terror, was when we did this exercise in my in at Reese Thomas, where we had to fight out of the corner. They held us in place in the corner, and we had to fight our way out. And not only did we have to physically fight our way out, but we had to emotionally, spiritually claim our right to exist, claim our space. And I did that, and it was the very first time ever in my whole life that I had actually claimed my right to exist and my place. And I went, "This is my fucking space!" And I really screamed, and I was like, "Ah!" And I claimed it. And and at that moment it was a feeling I had never had before, and it was terrifying. And this is the only other time I've ever felt this level of fear rage, was that moment when I was like, this is my fucking space. And I had this conversation with my friend who had provoked it, who had touched the live wire in there. And I was able to once again claim my right to exist, separate from anybody else's opinion or thoughts or ideas or anything. And it terrified me. I do this work for a living. I teach people how to do this. And that moment of realizing my own my own sovereignty, my own place, my own right to exist, was exhilarating and terrifying. And I feel like the moment that we're in right now is that we're all sort of being asked to do this. We're all sort of being asked to claim our space, to claim our personhood, and ultimately to claim our divinity. And it is terrifying. It is terrifying to us because it's not something we've ever known and we've ever done. And we're also doing it ancestrally. We're clearing out the ancestral line. We're clearing out the generations and millennia of repression for women, for divine femininity, for the right of people to exist regardless of nation, creed, religion, sexual orientation, gender, beliefs, the property, not property, indigenous people, people, like all of it doesn't matter. We're asked to claim our space as souls in the part of the collective, and it is terrifying. And so I get that because I felt it. I got to feel it in 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 the moment when my friend touched this button in me. And I was grateful for it. I was great. Well, no. At the moment, I wasn't grateful for it. I spent Thursday kind of traumatized, actually. Um, in fact, really traumatized. And I had to sit with it, and I had to feel it. And so it was like I went to my group, and I sort of I let it all go because I was in a safe space, and I just wept. My coach said that was the sacred rage. That was the Kali rage. That was the enough is enough rage. And that was perfect and beautiful and amazing, and we needed it, and that's how worlds get born. And I do believe that's what we're in right now. Like, I do believe we're getting squeezed so that we can say enough, so that we can find our tikkun olam, so that we can honor our sacred rage and collective grief, and begin the process of healing, begin the process of, it's not even allowing, creating, birthing the new humanity. But we have to allow that terror, that fear, that rage, that grief and sadness. We have to allow it in, and we have to make a space for it. I'm now profoundly grateful to that woman who was a noble friend. And by noble friend, I mean so willing to be so unconscious that she could, even unwittingly, touch something in me that was profound and basic, as in my right to exist, that who I am is okay, as is, without any qualifiers or any I love you anyway kind of thing. And so she gave that to me. And I'm still integrating it. She gave me that piece of my soul back. She gave me that she gave me the opportunity to fight my way out of the corner again, so that I'm not holding myself back and I'm not letting everybody else hold me back either. And I invite you to do the same. I invite you to, do you have a sacred space where you can let out the collective rage and grief and sadness and fear and anger and hurt and all of it? Do you have that space? And do you even know what it looks like? Like I said, I was traumatized on Thursday. It took me a long time to integrate. I was stuttering, I was shaking, I was anxious. I had a real trauma response. I do this work for a living, and I have enough supports and resources that I did my method. I did my Ho'oponopono. I did the five senses, and I got myself back in my body. And then I reached out. I went to my group. I reached out to my compatriots, my tribe, my sisters, and I said, "Help me with this. Hold this space for me." And they did. And if you don't have that, then this is why you work with me, or you work with a coach, or you work with a healer. This is this we don't have a choice anymore about being passive about this. So I invite you all to explore that. Just today, what dropped was I was on a podcast of a friend of mine, who's brilliant, by the way. And if you don't follow it, follow the Lonely Edges podcast. It's amazing. And just today, my interview with her, her interview with me dropped, and I'll post the link for that. And she calls her podcast The Lonely Edges, because sometimes you do have to break away from everything in order to find yourself again, in order to connect, in order to find that true intimacy. And we had a really powerful, profound, amazing conversation sort of along those lines. We need we need tribe. We need tribe. We can't do this alone anymore. We need tribe, and we need to feel it. We need to allow it. We need to grieve, and we need to rage, and we need to experience we need to experience the sacred rage. We need to find our tikkun olam, and we're being challenged and squeezed and directed and commanded and called forth to do that exact thing. That's all I got today. I hope it works. I hope it took. Um, Comment in the comments what you thought about today, what you feel, what you're thinking, what this brings up, what this evokes in you. I have a feeling there's some stuff that's coming up around it, and I invite all of this dialogue in, or have a conversation with me. Put yourself on my calendar. Let's have a conversation. Let's chat. Let's do it. I have a archetype class on Thursday, which is it's a fun way to get to know yourself. But archetypes are the entry point. Archetypes are the way in. Archetypes are the roadmap home. Right? Figure out what makes you tick, because that's going to be part of the process in helping you integrate all of these parts of us, all of our fractured selves. That's the archetypes. Come join us. Join me next week for the chakras class. That's the integration of all of your points. They go hand in hand together. And then really truly, I mean this sincerely, work with me one on one. And I will never let money stop you from doing the work. So even if you think you can't afford me, have a conversation with me anyway, and we'll make it work. I promise you we will. And stay tuned for more. I think we'll be offering some like ongoing, either in person or online workshops around this sort of concept of the sacred rage and collective grief. Because I think we need tribe. So I have some things in the works. So stay tuned for that. And as always, I love you. I love you. I love you. Deep, infinite well springs of compassion for yourselves and for everybody else. Happy Monday.